And we're joined now by Special Assistant to Brian Cashman, Jim Hendry. Jim, good to have you with us. You were with the Cubs as the GM when the Cubs signed Starlin Castro back in 2006. The scouts looked at him and they came to you and they said, what about him?
Well, we have a great scout and back then Dominican named Jose Serra, and our international director, Oneri Fleta, came to me and said, we got a kid that we think can play shortstop in the big league someday, and we can sign him for around $50,000 or $60,000. And great kid, works hard, and Jose's known him for a couple years, so obviously we jumped on the chance, and as typical, the first year or so were normal progression, and he got the A-ball in the Florida State League and just took off, and then it was a quick track to the big leagues and got there, shortly after that, and had great success by the time he was 20, 21 years old.
Jim, anytime the Yankees are looking at potentially making a deal, I'm sure Brian Cashman wants your input, but when it's a guy that you've had this much history with, is he turning to you even more to get your insight?
Yeah, there were quite a few questions the last couple of weeks because we've been on him for a while, but as you know, Starlin had this storybook beginning and, played in the All-Star game at 21 and 200 hits, and then probably the last couple of years, like after I left, he had some up and downs, and if anybody would have told us at 22 or 3 that he wouldn't be hitting around 300 every year and 20, 25 home runs the way he was headed, it would have been hard to believe. So he's gotten through it, and I thought that this year was a tremendous uptick for him again at the end. Going to second base really helped him, and I give Joe Madden a lot of credit too, and the kid for not hanging his head when he didn't play short anymore, and had a lot to do with the Cubs' run late in the year.
Why do you think he fits so well at second base?
Well, I think even when he was younger, we as an organization thought, he was a big, strong, like a wiry, strong kid, and had some power at 2021. And we thought down the road that he might get a little big and strong and have to go to second or third. That was kind of what we thought by 25 or 6 he'd be moving anyhow. So obviously they did it because Addison Russell is a premier defender, and Starlin really the last couple of years probably didn't play defense at short quite as well as Addison could. But long-range plan when he was a kid, we didn't tell him that then, but we thought he would grow kind of, the bat would be big enough to play the other spots, and we thought he'd go to second or third anyhow.
Let's talk about his hitting style a little bit. Were there conversations about how he might play at Yankee Stadium?
Yes, he's got the ability to use this, for a right-hand hitter, to use the ballpark to his advantage. He's got good power to right center field. He's got great hands. He's got good instincts at the plate. He had a little, when he hit 3-hole when the Cubs were rebuilding in a positive way, he was kind of the marquee guy. So he had at a young age, 22, 23, hitting third, and probably tried to do a little too much, and started chasing a few bad pitches and maybe lengthening his swing a little bit. I saw a lot of positives at the end of this year that he was kind of back into the mode that I think is capable of being a very, very good hitter, and potentially over 21 home run power.
Jim, you've mentioned a lot of the things that he does well. What would the Yankees like to see him improve on? What are some parts of his game that you say, he can get a little bit better at this?
Yeah, well, I think it is, as well as the beginning stages of playing second base went, there's not a lot of history there. It's probably a harder adjustment than he would have just moved over to third and caught the ball in the same angle coming from the left side of the infield. So the adjustment was good, but obviously it's turning the double plays an entirely different way now from the other side, learning how to get out of the way of the runners differently, learning to go to your left and throw back, to the bag for the force out. The adjustment looked good, but obviously more work can be done, and I think if the progression goes how the first 2 or 3 months went, you're talking about a well above average defender in second base, and I think we'd like him to be a little more conscious of plate discipline. He's not going to have to come in here and be the marquee guy and have to carry the team right away or anything like that. He's capable of hitting in a lot of places in the order. You could bat him second one day, you can bat him fifth, he can knock in runs. So I think just more consistency, because what happens to a kid like him, it's not a high strikeout rate for a guy that has some free swing into him. His hands are so good, he makes contact. Maybe some of those pitches we'd rather see him prefer to take and get in better counts and then drive the ball off the wall or over it sometimes.